Hey, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us here on Retro Geek Gaming. We like to talk about stuff that's retro, geek, and of course, gaming related. And this is primarily right now a gaming related podcast. So thank you for joining us for the Retro Rewind. Uh, Host Doug, of course, and to my right or to my left, wherever he has me, is my co-host Mike. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing good. I'm below you today, so
Below me
you're
today.
you're right
Awesome.
up here, and yeah, I'm doing great, man. I'm happy to be back and talking games again, and I'm excited to talk about a game that we completed basically together, a couple days apart, in God of
Yeah,
War.
and we're going to talk about the entire franchise. We're going to talk about our impressions of God of War, which I through the whole slog of animing. Defeating the Valkyries was not exactly an easy task, but I managed to pull it off. And you have just recently finished it. And we're going to talk about ideas for God of War Ragnarok, what we want to see from it, and just basically shoot the breeze about it. This is going to be the very first specific God of War, like game specific um, podcast, and hopefully the first of many because we got a lot of great games that are coming out um, not only this month, next month, and just all through the rest of the year. That who knows? Maybe we'll play together and finish together and talk about. But we're just going to start off as usual and just talk about what we are currently playing, and then we're just going to go ahead and jump right on in. So um, I've actually gone back to an older game that I had on my PS4. It was made by Supermassive Games, and it's a game called Hidden Agenda. Really fun. You have to use a phone or a tablet to control the game. So it's a little weird like that, but it's still a fun game, and it's just something I'm just using just to kill time until Ragnarok comes around. So what are you currently up to?
I'm playing Kana. It's funny they've said it every which way in the game itself, so I was trying to say it right based on what they say in the game, but I've realized each voice actor says it differently. But Kenna, Bridge of Spirits. Uh,
It was
I'm
a great game.
oh, dude, I am blown away. I didn't expect it to be as good as it is. I thought it was going to be a cute little, you know, collectathon with some decent combat maybe and some puzzles and stuff like that. But I'm really impressed by the storytelling and the world and the level design and the puzzle design and everything. I'm just loving every minute of it. So that's what I'm playing till Ragnarok comes out.
Yeah, I was very interested in that game ever since they basically announced it with the PS5, and I thought I was with you. I thought it was just gonna be like maybe a platformer or something, and you're gonna use these little creatures to play. I wasn't expecting it to be the kind of game that it was. It was a very interesting game, and I've thought about going back to it just as a time killer, just to finish the master mode that you get after finishing the game, just because there's two or three trophies that I'm missing. So why not? Why not?
Yeah.
But we're gonna go ahead though. We're gonna talk about God of War. I'll let you start first because I think you finished it after me, so it's the freshest in your mind. I've technically done more because again I've gotten the
Yeah.
platinum. I've done everything. So just starting off from the beginning of God of War with its very first introduction of Balder and Atreus and all that stuff, all the way to the end. No, is there any particular part that really stood out for you that you want to talk about? Because for me, the opening is what really got me. I was very interested in how they, especially the story, man. I think the story is probably the best part. Just the relationship between Kratos and Atreus and how it expands and how it changes because he starts to understand his point of view. Atreus starts to understand his father. So
Yeah. So what stood out most to me in the game? The story, of course. I do think that, which is incredible, right? Because this is a game with a deep combat system, with a deep
mm-hmm.
upgrade and gear system. I mean, it's got a sufficient um, gaminess to it. So I think it's just as good as any game in the series. Any of the good old, PlayStation games, PS2 games, God of War 2 and 3. As far as combat is concerned, they
Yeah,
modified it, they changed it up, but it's still as engaging and fun, and it's even deeper. I mean, ultimately, it's much deeper than the old games. So, for the story to stand out against that gameplay, to me that's incredibly impressive, because the
Yeah.
story of a father, um, just kind of really getting to know his son for the first time, right? Kratos has
Mhm.
been a bit afraid of getting to know his son and being there. Um, he doesn't want him to figure out, you know, his true nature. So
Okay,
Kratos
yeah.
has
Let me
been
just let
distant.
me just stop. Let me just stop you for just one moment. I'm just gonna go ahead and throw this out there. I assume anybody that's watching this has already played and beaten God of War, but just in case you haven't, we're going to be talking about spoilers. I do want to go ahead and just throw that out there as a disclaimer that there will be
Good,
spoilers in
yeah,
case you
good.
have not finished. Just in case you have not finished this God of War or any God of War. Just want to throw that out there. Even though I assume because it came out like what 2018, it's been like 4 or 5 years. You probably
2018,
already.
one of the greatest games ever made. If you haven't played it yet, I hadn't played it yet. I think most people that haven't played it are playing it now or finishing it now
Mm-hmm.
in preparation for Ragnarok, which is perfect timing. I almost feel like the universe wanted me to wait, and this was just the perfect timing for me to be a father, um, for me to just be in where I am in life now and have the experiences I have and the love and the loss that I've had. It just felt like a perfect time for me to pick it up and really feel the story. So the story is what stood out most to me from
Yeah.
beginning to end. You see true character growth. You see, that emotion, that love between them. Uh, yeah, man, it's the story.
Yeah, definitely, because like you were talking about, and I didn't mean to cut you off. I do
No,
apologize.
it's
I just
okay.
had that. I just had that thought before we went too far down the rabbit hole. We should probably throw that disclaimer out there. Um, yeah, because I mean, he is trying to hide his past. He's basically thought he was done with gods and God killing, and he wanted to put that past behind him. So he not only was ashamed of, you know, not only ashamed, he just didn't want that part of him to be shown to his son. He wanted him to do better. That was the whole theme of that dynamic between them was I'm doing this so you can be better, not end up like me. Because yes, you are technically a god, you're like a half god, but you still need to do better. You can't just go and just the whole underlying part of it of just like what kind of person kills their father, knowing that he killed his father,
Right.
and and all that. And then of course just the scenes in Helheim where he's getting like confronted with his past and the ghosts of Athena and Zeus and all that are showing up, and it's like this is I because I didn't realize that the chains of Olympus were going to show up in the game. I wasn't aware that everything that I saw about the game showed the Leviathan. So I thought that's what the whole game is. So yeah, the fact when they brought that back and I could play the old school God of War style combat, it was like, oh, that's so
How
great.
fun was that?
Yeah, because I mean, I love because that's something that drew me to God of War. God of War 1 and 2 were fantastic, and then God of War 3 was good. Ascension, I played them all except for maybe it's Ghost of Sparta,
That's the only one I didn't play. Yeah.
because there's two of them that came out on the PSP, and I own one of them. There's another one I don't own.
I think Chains of
Um,
Olympus is that one of them.
there's Ghost of Sparta and Chains of Olympus, and one of them I own and one of them I don't, and I don't recall which one it is.
Yeah, I
So,
never played Ghost of Sparta. I did play Chains of Olympus.
but there's one of them that I didn't play. Um, But besides that, I played all the God of War games, and I really feel like this one was the best one because not only did it give an excuse for them to bring back God killing Kratos, introduce a new side that's not just it's just going to be all violence and ripping heads off and being violent and having Kratos fight and kill gods. There was something else to it. Plus the strategy behind it I think was just great because not only did you have certain enemies that were afflicted by the chains of Olympus because they were fire, but there were others that you could defeat only with the Leviathan axe, and then you had Atreus's arrows and how that could add an extra element to the
The
combat, and it was just
summons. The summons were
yeah,
so fun with the wolves, and I
yeah,
max leveled the wolves, and I would just have the three shock wolves running around shocking everything while I blades of chaos the entire map, and max leveled all my enchantments, and
Uh-huh.
man, man, is it just it's brilliant. The combat is brilliant. It's seamlessly switched between Leviathan Axe and Blades of Chaos. Um,
Yeah.
the cooldown system, I did a cooldown build there for a second, and I was just unleashing constant runic attacks all over the place. Uh,
And then yeah, I just love what they did also with the armors and how they had different effects. It was very because I mean a lot of that's already been in God of War. Like you've had God of War games, you could switch between like a little gauntlet thing that you could punch with, and then your chains and all stuff. So having a combo system wasn't anything new, but it was just how they did it because they threw, like you said, the summons in there. They threw in the what was it that I just thought of the different
runic
um
attacks.
the different runes you could add in to make sure
Yes.
like, oh yeah, this one cools down quicker,
Oh,
this one
right.
does this, that, and
Yes.
the other. And yeah, that was just so great how they did that. And then eventually you get to the point where you can like create your own armors and mix and match them and stuff like that. It was just a totally great system that I loved. And I loved how they threw that curveball at the end of the story, and how it's setting up for Ragnarok. Because there was all kinds of hints towards Ragnarok, um, the game. Because I think that in some ways, the wolves that they're talking about um, are going to be Atreus and Kratos. Because one's a big wolf, one's a little wolf. Chasing after the sun and the moon. So it's gonna be interesting to see what they do with that. But um, was there anything else that I mean, because we could talk all day about God of War and how much we liked about it. But was there anything else that like really stood out from the story wise?
Story wise, just that theme of controlling your anger and controlling your emotions. I think from the very beginning, when Kratos first has Atreus go out into the woods to hunt the deer or whatever, right? And Atreus shoots it too quick or shoots at it too quick before Kratos thought, he just tells him at the beginning, like, slow it down, take your time, don't let your emotions take over. And then, when you defeat that first, I don't know what the creature is, but it basically that giant, right? The first time, and Atreus is there stabbing him over and over and over and over. It's like just that theme throughout the entire time, and then when Atreus kills, is it Migni? I think
Yeah,
so. When he stabs him in the neck and throws him off the cliff, and Kratos is like, "You don't know what you did. There are consequences for killing a god." It's just throughout the entire thing is control your emotions, control your don't let your emotions overtake you, and you see some of that with Freya too and Balder in their relationship, and Freya's there for you. Freya's there for Atreus, and you could see she really cares for Atreus and likes Kratos, right? But the fact that we take her son, it's drives her insane. So I think like kind of the theme of the story is all about just love and emotions and anger, and trying to be in control of yourself. That's kind of what I got out of it. Is try to control your emotions and don't let them take you down the dark path.
yeah. I have to admit that one of the things that really tugged on me, and again, you hit the nail on the head earlier when you said this part of your life where you're a father now, stuff like that. I can totally relate as having, three boys of my own and just kind of thinking the mistakes that I have made in my life is something that I don't want my children to do. And so I'm trying to teach them without revealing my past also. Um, don't go down this route. And
Right.
so exactly what you're talking about. Because I thought that it showed a lot of restraint on Kratos' part when he's trying to teach Atreus, like you said, to hunt and do all this stuff. And even when he finds out his true nature, that he's really like he's part God, and so he can just do whatever he wants. He starts to get that cockiness about him.
Yeah.
He just he just doesn't go and just really just beat the crap out of him. Be like, boy,
And that's so
Um,
believable, right? For a kid of that age, a young boy, to learn that he's a god. It was totally believable for Atreus to start being like, we could do whatever we want. Like right when you find out, right, you go and you get into the boat, and Atreus is like, we're gods, we could do whatever we want. Let's go explore. He's like ready to go. And I actually used that moment. So I hadn't done a lot of side questing or exploration up until that moment when Atreus learns he's a god. And when he gave us that line, he said, look, we're gods now. Let's go explore. We could do whatever we want. I spent the next 10 hours side questing and exploring. And it almost fit perfectly within my experience. It almost made it like, part of the story. But it was really, really awesome the way they show him as a little cocky. I started to hate him for a second, man, and he wasn't himself, right? So
yeah,
I
I was
really
concerned for
started
I was
getting mad. I was like, "Shut up, little dude."
yeah, and I was concerned for a moment because I'm like, well, I know he's in Ragnarok, so we're not going to kill him. I know that he's
Yeah.
in Ragnarok. I know he's in Ragnarok, but I was concerned for a moment. I was like, is he a boss fight? Is this going to be one of those kind of things where he's going to turn into a boss fight? Um, I was actually surprised that we didn't have nearly as many boss fights though as I thought that we were going to have in the game. Because I mean, we had Baldur in the beginning, and we fought Baldur like 3 times, which all the Baldur fights are just fantastic in their own right. Um, he fit, I think, the best out of all the gods, out of the Norse gods that they could have him fight. He was, I think, the best fit to bring Kratos back in. A man who doesn't feel any pain, and so therefore he's not afraid of Kratos. He has no reason to be like, you can do whatever you want to me. Um, and To just sort of, unleash that rage within him again, I think is a great counterpoint. You got somebody who basically feels rage and lets his emotions control him, or at least used to, and somebody who doesn't have any emotions at all. So it was a great, you know, opposite side of the coin thing. But
Right.
outside of Baldur, you only had that one fight with what were their names again? The sons of Thor, Modi and Milo, or
Migny.
whatever you call them.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. And I'm sorry I don't recall their names, but there's only really like 4 boss fights. I thought we were going to get a lot. I mean, if you count the elementals and the trolls that you fight, or the bigger creatures, I guess you can count them. But I counted them more as like, almost like the Lionels of Breath of the Wild. Like they were just kind of little mini boss
They're
fights in
like
their own
sub
right.
bosses. Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't really like
They
bosses.
were almost like area bosses. They were area like they put one in each area for you to defeat. It felt like.
Yeah, they're almost like generals or something, where they're just like, they're tough in their own right. They're tougher than a regular enemy, but they're not bosses. But they're not Valkyries. Also, Valkyries are meant to be like, super special hidden bosses that are extra harder than the regular bosses. So I guess it balanced out because of that, because there's 9 Valkyries, and so if you count that plus the 4 boss fights, it's actually quite a lot. But I guess if you just play through the regular story, it felt like there wasn't a whole lot of boss fights. And I guess I was expecting more because God of War. Granted, I think there's probably a lot more Greek gods than there are Norse gods, but it seemed like he went through a heck of a lot more. I had to play the first game again to know for sure, because we're talking about, you know, 4 or 5 games of Greek gods. So it feels like he's gone through a whole lot more gods than he did in this one. But yeah, it really felt like, okay, so you fight Baldur and then Thor's sons. So it's like there's only really 2 boss fights. It's not really a whole lot. So I kind of feel like there should have been more boss fights. But outside of that, what we did get, the boss fights were great. Like what they did with, again, the Thor's son, how you had to protect Atreus and circle around and make sure that you blocked it at the right time. And, it was really good stuff, really creative boss fights and really creative puzzles and just all kinds of really neat stuff that I think that they did.
Yeah, I agree. And the first time I got a Valkyrie, man, they kicked my butt, and I had to come back later and defeat the Valkyries. Um, that was fun. I think it leaves you wanting more. It makes you wish it was a 50-hour game. You know,
It
and
does.
that's like, if that's the worst thing you could say about it, is like, man, I just wanted more. Like, I
Yeah.
never want it to end. You know, I want this to just constantly evolve and give me more weapons. You know, I was hoping for a third weapon to come. You know, I was hoping, like, okay, we got the axe and the blades of chaos. Let's get a third weapon in there, and we never did. But that was just that thing. Like, I just want more. I want it to keep going. I didn't want it to end. And you know me, I don't platinum games. I don't complete games like that. I don't find all collectibles and stuff. But this had me definitely trying to go through Muspelheim trials. This had me trying to go through Niflheim mists
Oh
over and
God.
over and over, and you know, losing my mind. But it was so fun. The combat is so fun and engaging that it's like I could just keep playing, and the idea of getting more enchantments and more runic attacks and leveling them up and just doing different types of combos and creating different kinds of builds. Like, they really nailed the combat in this game, and the
They
way it
did.
works with the gear, and the way it works with the enchantments, and the way you unlock your skills, and the crafting system. It was just perfect. I really didn't have a problem with any of that. And typically, with crafting systems, I'm like, I wish it worked this way or that way. Like, this was just enough for this type of game with this story and this combat. Um, it was perfect. I hope they keep everything basically the same and just add more runic attacks, more bosses, more, like, I want the same game, just bigger, better graphic fidelity. That's what I'm hoping for Ragnarok.
Yeah, I am completely there with you 100%. Because I mean, when the game ended, I just wanted more. I'm just like, okay, cool, let's go to Ragnarok. Like you see, I talk about this is the long winter leading up to Ragnarok. Let's do it. Let's go. Like I just wanted,
Winter, yeah.
yeah, like I just wanted more. And
Dude, what did you think about Brock and Signy, the
I thought
dwarves?
that I thought that they had an interesting way of doing that, especially because when they come together at the end and you get access to that one legendary place where the third and final dragon is, um, that was a cool area, you know. And
That was a
again, I loved
great
what they.
area.
It was a great area, and I loved how the game unlocked lore. Like if you wanted to, you could just completely have just done the story straight up and just ignore the lore. But if you wanted to, by the time the world serpent starts to lower the water the first time, you can start exploring like, oh, there's a ship over there. You start talking to like the captain. It's like, hey, there's people there, still under the water or whatever. And you start to do more. Um, I forget what the name of that area is. I think it's like Thessaheim or something like that. But when you go there, you find out about this dwarf king, and you find out about his rule and stuff like that, and how he was mad and all that stuff, and you just learn all this through just doing the side quests and just exploring, and you can find the stuff. And I thought it was really cool. I liked what they did with the Odin Ravens also, how they were just something you could just find and just destroy, and they were very well hidden. And you just had to keep an ear out to hear them, and you start looking everywhere for them when you hear them. Um, yeah, it's a really really good game, and I was very surprised I did not play it when it first came out on the PS4. I don't know why. I don't know why I didn't play it. Maybe I think, like you said, Ragnarok just really inspired me to go back and give it a try. Because I mean, I've had it forever. I've had it forever. It's just one of those kind of games that I put on the back burner.
Yeah.
But I definitely did want more. And so that's the reason why I put all these ideas that I wrote down. So I don't know if you want to over these ideas, if you have any ideas of your own about what you want from Ragnarok. But one of the first things that I noticed, and it kind of and granted, Mistelheim and Nilheim, whatever, they were great areas, but they felt very small. Um, like they weren't, because Helheim had more, and um, Midgard, yeah, the main area, Midgard,
Midgard was the
had
largest.
it was definitely the largest area.
Alfheim
But
with the dark elves was fairly large. That was, but very
yeah,
linear. very
Yeah, that
linear.
was
They all felt very linear, each realm, right? So, Muspelheim and Niflheim with the mists and the trials were very gimmicky realms. There was really nothing else to do there, right? And then you
yeah,
have um, Alfheim or whatever with Alfheim with the Dark Elves. That was a
yeah.
I loved it. I loved that area, and it was a great part of the story. But again, it just feels limited and kind of linear. Um, yeah,
I do think that the
Helheim was linear and limited. So I think making the realms Midgard size, have multiple Midgard size, explorable, kind of semi open world realms, kind of the way Witcher 3 did it. I know you didn't play Witcher 3, but Witcher 3 is kind of that way. It's not necessarily a giant open world. It's these zones that you go in that are open world zones, and I would like to see that with the realm system in Ragnarok.
Yeah, so I'm basically right there with you. Not only do I want to see Midgard now with the whole winter, because they said they were gone for a very long time, because
Right.
the amount of time that passed was much longer than what they experienced while they were in that last realm. But I want to be able to explore that giant realm more. I want to be able to explore Alfheim and definitely Helheim more. And of course, more Midgard, now that it's got the winter on it, I want to, be able to go to maybe some new areas you couldn't access before. And the main thing that I want to do, and I think this is the reason why they deliberately held out, because it felt like half the game was there, because there were still three realms you could not go
That
to.
you could not, yeah, and those have to be coming.
And so what I'm thinking is that now you're going to be able to do all the realms. Not only are you going to do the ones that you could do in the first game, but now those three. And they have to, especially if you're going to be going after Odin. So I don't know if they're going to make it a trilogy and they're going to save whatever the one that Odin would be in. I
They're
forget what it's
not.
called.
They're not. They came out and announced. I just watched an official God of War trailer from Sony Santa Monica Studios, and they said that they made the decision to do a duology. This is a two-game series. This is it. This is the final game in this story. So they said it's huge.
Oh
It's
yeah,
big.
then in that case, I can imagine that they're going to do like what he basically did in last God of War game, God of War 3, where he's basically going after every god just to get his hands on Odin. Like we're
Yeah.
probably we're probably going to see Suter. We're probably going to see Thor. I wouldn't be surprised if Odin shows up and be like, "What the heck are you doing?" Um, we've already said, because you brought it up earlier, how Freya has vowed vengeance after killing Balder. So I wouldn't be surprised if Freya is, somebody that we have to fight. Possibly the World Serpent. Like who knows? Like there's just all kinds of craziness that I'm thinking that this game's going to do, and then they're going to open up all the other realms. I'm down. I'm ready for this.
I can't
You
wait.
know?
It's going to be incredible. And it's going to be a full experience. There's going to be no microtransactions. There's going to be no, uh, pay to win or pay to progress. It's just going to be a full fledged, single player, story driven campaign, which is exactly what I want. Um, I'd like to see. So, other things I'd like to see. I'd like to see Atreus's gear and combat system expanded.
Yeah.
I only found a handful of summons. I don't know if there's only three. I only found the falcons, the wolves, and what else was it?
I think there's five, if I remember correctly.
Okay, so I only found three. Five
Because
five is better, but I want more. And I want them to
because
kind of have their own vibe.
because if I remember right, there was ravens, there was a stag that would just like ram people. There was the wolves like you were talking
There was
about.
the stampede, right?
I think so.
There was like a stampede of boars. That I had that one. I had the stampede of boars, the wolves, and the ravens. That's all I got by the end.
I can look it up to make sure, but I think there's five. I think that there is another one. But yes, I definitely want to see more of those. And I would love to see more out of him. Like maybe he can do like a dagger throw or something. Like he can do something else to sort of help out because a lot of the puzzles came down to just Kratos and like, okay, I'm going to freeze this gear right here, and then we're going to run through and summon it back. But maybe Atreus can do something like that, and you got some kind of a tag team thing. It would be cool.
Yes.
Also, it would be cool. Also, this is just a very. I know that the game is already like it's set, it's done, it's already been made. So none of the suggestions that we make are obviously going to go through. But I think it would be cool if maybe they introduce some kind of a co-op function. Maybe there's a second player that can do Atreus, and one person plays Kratos. And that opens up just a whole slew of. Let's see here. There is falcons. Okay, so there is wolf, falcons. Um, so it looks like there's 7.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay,
there's
that's
the
good.
Wrath of the Wolf, Summon Falcon's Dive, Summon Storm of the Elks, Bitter Squirrel, Summon the Boar, Stampede, like you said, and then a Murder of Crows. So that seems to be 1, 2, 3, 4,
6.
6. Okay, so yeah, there's a couple more you haven't found yet. Yeah, because I thought there was way more than what you said, but yeah, definitely want to see more of those. I think that,
And I think
again, just
that's perfect, and it fits right into the system. And like, give Atreus sockets on his gear, with allow us to find Atreus specific enchantments that we could slot into his gear, that give him specific abilities and different modifications. I want to see fire arrows. I want to see ice arrows. I want to see more arrow types.
Yeah, we already had the ice and the electric arrows, but yeah, definitely some more arrows, like something from fire, like you said. But I think the way that they looked at it was like, okay, we got ice from the Leviathan Axe, we got fire from
The Blades of Chaos,
Wind.
right? And then we got the shock and the light. So you do get it all. Yeah.
You do get it all in a sense, and so that's the reason why I think that maybe some kind of a co-op system would be great, because and you could have it to where like maybe you can trade back and forth. But again, Atreus is older now. Like we have to remember that I just actually recently read this and thought it was kind of funny. They had to go back and edit Atreus because the voice actor, his voice dropped because he did so many like voice lines and stuff. His voice actually dropped, so they had to like do some editing of his voice. But he's gotten much older. And so if we look at the fact that like, okay, he's more mature now from hunting, he's more confident because he knows he's a god. I'd like to see some of his abilities come out. Like maybe he gets a rage form that does something. I don't know. Maybe makes him faster. Maybe makes him. Because they basically called him Loki, so that's what he's known as. He's, Loki. So he could be the god of tricks. Maybe he's able to go invisible. Maybe he's able to move really fast, or it's like he's stealthy or something. I don't know. I think it'd be interesting to see what they're going to do with it. And then the revelation that his mother was really like a giant or something.
Yeah. He's half god, half giant.
That'd be interesting to see what they do with that. I think that this game cannot come soon enough, man. I'm telling you, this game has got me more stoked because I was already stoked about it. Because I just love God of War, but after playing this God of War game, which is like a requel, it acknowledges the previous games in the series, but it's kind of a reboot. So it's one of those weird things where it's like it's kind of technically. It's not a sequel because they don't put a 5 or anything or a 6.
It's the same Kratos.
Yeah. If this is only going to be 2 games, and this is the end of all the Norse gods, this is popular enough to where they're going to continue with it.
100%. You know what they said, and I caught on. They said when we decided how we wanted to wrap up the Norse god story, we decided we wanted to do it in 2 games. So they said the Norse god story. So
Yeah.
absolutely, I think they've already got ideas for different gods. You know, different.
Oh yeah, and that's actually another. I don't know if you caught it because you have to be very. You have to be very. I guess you have to listen very well to what they say. Like when Lemire talks to you and says stuff, you have to kind of pay careful attention to what he says. So there was stuff that I caught on. There was a point in a dungeon that I really liked where you get in like the black robe or whatever. It was Tyr's chamber, um, which is just a great dual dungeon because it's got one part here and another part that's a mirror of it. Um, but when you were doing that part, you were picking up some relics. And you were talking about how he collected this, that, and the other, and they referenced Egyptian gods. So that's what I'm thinking they're going to do next. I think he's going to go after Egyptian gods, and I think that's going to be just insane to think about.
Yeah, if that happens, that'll be absolutely insane.
Because you got to think about like bird-headed, alligator-headed, like very powerful gods that can control the sun and the rivers and stuff like that. And he's going to Egypt and possibly exploring pyramids and who knows, like it. I'm looking forward to that. That's what I wanted to begin with, and then announced Norse gods. I'm like, okay, I'll take that. Um, and then just again, depending upon how far they want to take it, like we're gonna get a modern day Kratos where he's like in 2025, just taking out like Buddha and all the modern gods. I mean, who knows?
Jesus Christ, ripping his head off. I don't know. I
Um,
don't know. Do you think Atreus stays in the series post Ragnarok? I think Atreus goes away. I think this is the Atreus arc, and I think you don't bring Atreus back in the next game. What's he going to be, a man? You know, at this point, like you're just going to just have two men out there. Like at that point, let Atreus go off and
uh,
do his turn him heel. You know, turn him heel,
oh,
man, and have him become the villain. And
that is a good point because if they are calling him Loki and Loki is a Norse god and he takes out all the Norse gods, is this the kind of thing where maybe he dies?
yeah,
Or
I think Atreus, maybe Atreus dies at the end of Ragnarok.
because you have to remember that Kratos has already lost one family. He had a wife and a daughter before. I don't know if you played the original games or know anything about them. That was his whole story arc. Was he had a wife and a daughter? They died. And he made a deal with Ares. Um, he actually vowed to kill Ares because Ares was the one that tricked him into killing them. And so he then killed Ares and became the god of war. So that was his whole origin story. So now we have a new family. His wife is dead now. So the next thing would just be to take out his son and then vow to kill whatever god kills him. So if maybe Odin tricks him, he's like, okay, I'm going to kill you now. Like it's, who knows? Or this is another interesting thought that came to my head when you're talking about that. What if this is the end of Kratos' arc and we move forward with
Atreus is the
Atreus?
next god of war.
Yeah. What if he becomes, because if you think about it, we already know Kratos. We know his story and he's just getting old at this point. Still technically kind of already kind of mortal because he was a man before he became a god.
He's a he's a
Um,
beast though, man. He's not slowing down at all. I mean, he's lifting giant boulders, you know, and he's freaking. I mean, the strength of this guy is insane, right? I mean, he's defeating
yeah.
Balder, and uh, there's no signs of him slowing down. I think.
And
So
then
I
you
don't
get
know.
like,
Do you get rid of Kratos? You know, does when Halo tried to get rid of Master Chief, that didn't go too well. You know.
and to be fair, they did kind of. I don't know if they bring him back, but they did kind of do the same thing with Nathan Drake. They officially ended his story with Uncharted, and so they tried to continue with whatever that last one was with Chloe.
Lost Legacy,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, they try to continue with one of his associates. It's like, yeah, she knows Nathan Drake. She continues the treasure hunting. Um, and I don't know how well that game sold. I'd have to look at the numbers, but I don't know if it did as well as the actual Uncharted games did. So would they then bring Nathan Drake back, or if they do another Uncharted, would they just continue with somebody else, like maybe Nathan Drake's son, or again somebody else that knew him? So we know Kratos. It wouldn't be the same without him, obviously, but he did start off very small and scrawny in the very first game, and now he's freaking jacked and doing Dragon Ball Z level fights. But who knows? We could end up seeing something out of Atreus where he starts to, lift weights and do all that stuff like that, knowing that he's a god, he can do all this stuff. He pushes his body, and he becomes jacked up. And um, I mean, who knows? We don't know where this is going to go. I don't think this is going to be the end of Kratos, though. That's what I'm hoping for. I think Kratos is too big of an icon. Um, Maybe he retires. Maybe he doesn't die. Maybe he just retires. Because I mean, it's almost like a Gears of War thing. Because yeah, you had Felix, and you had the Gears of War trilogy, and in 4 and 5 it was somebody else, but he still showed up, but he wasn't the main character. So it could be something like that. It could be Atreus or somebody else that you play, but he still shows up. Maybe he's a mentor, like it's a Batman Beyond kind of thing, where it's like, hey, here's a new young blood who's being mentored by Kratos, which would be Atreus at that point. But again, we don't know what they're going to do with him.
Yeah, it's
But
definitely interesting to think about. Do they do more God of War games after this? They have to, right?
I,
I mean, they're critically acclaimed. They're heralded as masterpieces. They're high selling. Um,
I mean, I would think so because we've had at least one God of War game on every console that they've released, outside of the Vita, of course, because it wasn't around long enough to release one. Um, Ever since the PS2, like you had two on the PS2, you had three and Ascension came out on the PS3, and of course PS4 had God of War. So now the PS5/PS4 has Ragnarok. So I think that they'll continue, but maybe we'll take a break and we won't get one till maybe the PS6 or whatever they do next. But I think it's also going to depend upon sales. I would like to think that Sony is smart because they are running out of franchises. They, like I said, they retired Nathan Drake, so don't know if they're going to continue with the Uncharted series. They're not doing any more Jack and Daxters. They're not doing, you know, Spiral doesn't belong to them anymore. Spiral now belongs to Microsoft technically. Um, they're not doing Crash Bandicoot. That's not their series anymore. So it's like, what do they have left? God of War is their big one, and I think they want to continue it.
yeah,
But I think it's also going to depend upon sales because you're talking about a very critically acclaimed series that took a break in order to sort of revamp itself. So maybe they'll revamp it again and they'll come out with Egyptian gods and we'll get like a whole new system, a whole new combat system, a whole new whatever. I'd like for it to continue. I think it would. I think that the series has got, again, enough gods. There's a whole pantheon of gods out there. Pick anything. Even if you go back and say Roman gods, okay, he never killed Roman gods. He killed Greek gods. Okay, they're similar, but you can still go after them. Egyptian gods, like we talked about, there's way too many out there to just go, yeah, he's not gonna touch anymore. Or does he do like what he initially wanted to when he met his new wife in this game, and he just sort of puts that behind him, vows to never touch it again, and he retires? I mean, who knows?
yeah. It's going to be interesting how they end this little arc here. Um, that's part.
Yeah,
That's what has me wanting to play it. I want to know the story. That it's incredible. It's like I want to know the story, plus I want to play the gameplay, and that's not
yeah,
always the case with games for me. Maybe it's one or the other, but it's not always that I think both aspects are just 10 out of 10, story and gameplay. This was just, I thought it was definitely a 10 out of 10 game for me if I was to rate it, and story and combat both get 10s for me.
Definitely. I mean, it drew me in more than what I thought it was because I thought I was just going to play it. It was going to be, a hack and slash kind of game like the other ones were, and I was just going to move on. I didn't realize that it had so much depth behind it. And then I watched the very first cutscene, and he's basically mourning, and he's like, I don't want to cut down this tree because this was the tree that she touched, and it's a tree of protection, and this, that, and the other. And like, oh man, this I haven't even played this game 5 minutes, and it's already like it's completely different. So it drew me in from the beginning, and again, just at the end, like you're talking about. Okay, you're talking about this long winter before Ragnarok. I want to do this. Like I want to play more, and that was setting up for Ragnarok. They talked about Ragnarok throughout the whole game. They talked about the wolves. They talked about Thor. They talked about upcoming Ragnarok and how Thor and the Road Serpent have a history, this, that, and the other. Um, so it's going to depend on how this one ends. If this one ends with like a hint of something else, then I'll be like, yeah, we're going to get another one. If they wrap it up in a nice little bow, I'll probably think, yeah, they might be done because that's what they did with God of War 3. Kratos fell off a cliff. He may be dead, he may not be. They kind of left it ambiguous, like, okay, he may be dead, he may not be dead. You know, so that way, if the game didn't do well and they decided, okay, we don't have any more ideas, we're not going to continue with this, they can just say Kratos is dead. And if this happens where they decide to bring it back, oh, he left. He just left. He finished his track of vengeance. He went off somewhere else. That could be this. It could be one of those kind of things where maybe they're going to be ambiguous. And it's like, is he dead or is he not dead? And then they decide 4 or 5 years to bring out another God of War, and he's in Egypt or something.
Yeah.
We'll have to wait and see what they do.
It'll definitely be interesting. It was a great experience, man, and I think we're like 20 days away now. I think
Something like that.
Is it the November 9th, I think is when it drops. And oh, here's the good news. I heard today, I was watching Skill Up on YouTube. I don't know if you ever watch him, but he's one of the best gaming channels there is. And he was talking about he's got a review copy of Ragnarok currently, and the embargo lifts on October 3rd. So for them to lift the embargo for reviews to come out 6 days before the game, they know they have something special. You know, Cyberpunk was like heavy embargoes until like the afternoon after release and stuff. It was weird, man. And I think that it shows confidence when you're allowing reviewers to get reviews out a week before the game comes out. Because they know it's gonna be 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10, 99 out of 100. Like, they know that they made something special. Because a week early, that's crazy. Only games that know they're gonna kick ass do that.
And also, I think it's just I don't even think that maybe they know they have a good game on their hands, a great game, possibly game of the year for 2023, because I think it's going to come out too late for Game Awards this year. I have to wait and see, of course, if they even put it in the same category for Game Awards this year. But it also depends upon the hype, because like with Tears of the Kingdom, that game is hyped beyond belief. So I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see, as that gets closer and closer to that, we start to see more advertisements, more commercials for it, and we get the same thing where they start to drop reviews of the game like a week or two before it comes out, just to be like, get ready. This game has been hyped probably what, a year or two now. It's been hyped for a while.
Yeah.
So definitely gonna pre-order it. Definitely gonna wait for it to come out November 9th. I'm just gonna do stuff like probably. I think it's. I kind of was thinking about this as this game just now. Sonic Frontiers comes out November 8th. That game's gonna get buried. The game doesn't stand a chance now. The chance that Sonic Frontiers had to be to get any kind of traction is basically going to be buried now because it's coming out like a day or two before at Ragnarok. So
Man,
it's I don't know why they chose to do that. Maybe they just feel like, yeah, screw it, it doesn't matter. Um, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to this, and I basically just not only the stuff that I told you about just now. I just want to see all the realms open up. I want to see the you know, three realms that we didn't explore um, opened up, explorable. But I just want to see a lot of the same stuff from what we had before. Like, let's free more dragons. Let's find more ravens to destroy. Let's save more spirits. Let's, like you talked about, do more armor crafting and combinations of runes, and just take everything that this game was, ramp it up to 11, and then double
yes,
it. That's
exactly.
all. That's all they need. The game was good enough on its own.
They don't need to change much. They just need to add addition by addition, man. They need to just amp it up, like you said. Turn that knob to 11. Give us more runic attacks, more enchantments, more gear, more trials, more mists. Like, I'm okay with those coming back. Really, I'm okay with Muspelheim and Niflheim coming back and being kind of similar um, challenge areas for
Yeah,
farming and getting new gear and stuff like that.
because that's all they were there for. I mean, they were there really. It's just like, hey, look, in case you're looking for a challenge, here are actual challenges, and it's a completely optional realm. You don't have to go to it. It's not some part of the story that we force down your throat and be like, and just to let you know, kind of felt like, okay, they did that with both of the Horizon games. They gave you those challenge areas, but they were kind of just like, they're right there. Like, they pointed them out on the map. They were very clear. I was like, no, they're right there. You don't have to do them, but they're there. This game made a whole entire realm that you don't even have to pay any attention to just go in and do it as optional if you want. And the Niflheim I actually like because it's completely random. Like, it's annoying because it's random, but I like the fact that it's randomly generated. So every time you play it, and you go through the loop again. You're not just doing the same thing over and over again. You got different. It's a pretty different maze. It was really cool.
I
And of course, there's a way you can farm it. I don't know if you know how, but you can basically there's a way that you can farm. Basically, just sell stuff to get the needed whatever they call them, the mist shards or whatever, real quick. But yeah, everything. Because I mean, this was the first time, probably in a long time, because I can't think of any other game off the top of my head, and you're welcome to mention one if you can think of any. Where I would basically just say, yeah, don't touch anything. Basically, just you can basically just copy and paste this game again and just do a completely different story, and I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, I was feeling that way after The Last of Us. You know, because it's a masterpiece as well. I've been fortunate to play two consecutive masterpieces, 10 out of 10s. Like, come on, and I don't think that part two lives up to part one. I didn't play it all the way through. I played a little bit, but just I know what happens. You know, whatever. Okay, so like yeah, um, but yeah, that's the only one.
Okay, yeah, that you actually got the juice is kind of flowing now. I'm kind of thinking a little bit here because you said that part two can't live up to part one. Would there have ever been any chance that God of War Ragnarok could do something that just completely ruins it and makes it not live up to this one?
I don't know. I don't know if they can. I don't think they could mess it up because I don't think what they're gonna kill Kratos mid game and have you play as the person that killed him the rest of the game. You know what I mean? Like, that's what happens basically in Last of Us 2. So it's just like uh I think a lot of what made Last of Us 2 bad was not the systems. I think they improved the gameplay. They improved the sneaking. They improved basically every game system was improved. It was the story. So what could God of War do to ruin it on that level? I don't know. I don't know if they can. I think Last of Us was in a unique situation to really mess it up. They had to really go out of their
Yeah.
way and be risky to mess it up. I think Santa Monica's going to play it safe and really try to just give us more of what was good about this.
I just
With
think
Last
that,
of Us, we wanted more Joel and Ellie, and we ended up
yeah,
getting other playable characters. And half of the time, you're not even worried about Joel and Ellie. It's like, okay, whoa, we wanted Joel and Ellie part two, basically, and you gave us this. So
yeah.
unless they give us like a different playable character that's not interesting and completely derails the story, I don't know what they could do.
And even then, it might be interesting because they kind of pulled that crap on you with Metal Gear Solid 2. You play the very first mission as Snake, and then like, okay, here's Raiden,
If it's
and
done right, hey, let's play as Thor for half the game. I'm in. You know what I mean? Thor's badass. Like,
but wouldn't that kind of defeat the purpose? Because like, hey, the whole point of this game is you're going to kill the Norse god, but guess what? Thor kills Kratos, and now you spend the other half of the game playing as Thor, and you're not killing any gods. You
yeah,
just kind
thank you.
of
Exactly, dude. That's the Last of Us equation right there. So,
so it's just like maybe that's all they could do. It's like, hey, I know the whole point of this game was to kill Norse gods, but instead the Norse gods kill you, and then you're just gonna sit there and drink beer and like, pass out the whole game. And it turns into a big mini game of just drinking
turns
beer.
into
It's just like,
a Animal Crossing simulator, like life simulator. Yeah, I don't know what they could do. They'd have to really try to mess it up. They'd have to really try to mess it up. I just feel so strongly about the talent of the people that wrote this game. Like, come on. I mean, this is one of the best stories, the most emotional. It really was up there. I was thinking about Last of Us as I was playing, like, that relationship between Joel and Ellie. You feel the same thing between Kratos and Atreus. You feel that bond, that connection, that love, that the willingness to do anything for each other. And, man, good stuff.
yeah. So that's why I was concerned that maybe they'll mess it up. But you're also talking about completely different um genres of game. You're talking about like a survival horror zombie game versus basically the equivalent of a hack and slash um, game, some RPG elements. Um, but it also still has Cory Balrog doing it. So I mean, he's done like every single God of War game, and they've all been great.
Yeah, and
So
he gets that Kratos is supposed to be a badass. You know, that's who Kratos is, and that's who he's going to continue to be. We're not going to get some emotional, sappy. I loved it during this whole game, just how kind of stoic and direct and unfeeling Kratos is the whole time, right? Anytime there was a chance for him to be a little emotional or a little soft on Atreus, he doesn't do it. He always is the stern, you could be better dad. So I love that
yeah,
about it.
I'd like to see him open up a little bit more, just as a father myself. Like there are moments where I have to be softer with my children, and so I think that that's just a natural element. But I would also like to see, and maybe they get split up in the game, just as an example, to where he can basically be like, "My kid's not around.
I
I'm gonna
miss
go into
him.
full, yeah, I'm gonna go into full rage mode, and I'm gonna kill every last person in here now." Like he basically just goes nuts because like my kid's not around. I don't have to hold back anymore. And we just get those moments where he just basically becomes like the old God of War, and he's just like, I mean, there were some gruesome parts. I mean, you have parts where he literally grabs people with the chain and drags them down and drops stuff on top of them. But still, just more of that, where it's just like, I'm not done. I know you're dead. You've been dead for 15 minutes, but I'm still going to mutilate your body. And just yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing more of that because yeah, we had a stoic, more calm Kratos, but that was really more because he was again trying to hide his nature and kind of keep this part of his life and the past and the whole part of like you're a god and so you're probably going to mess it up apart from Atreus. But now that that's out in the open, maybe Atreus goes berserk and starts we already talked about how he can get some different god abilities. But let's get back to maybe some more of the old Kratos, where it's just like, yeah, he's got his softer parts, where he's just like, no boy, do better,
Yeah.
and he does that around him. But then like, because we kind of saw that a little bit with him. That's what he was like. He was in Helheim, and he had to go and get him back, or he had to go to Helheim actually to get the ingredient for Freya to bring him back. And then when he was on the back of the dragon and Balder was, potentially hurt him, he was a little bit more like, he was a little bit more on the raw and the rough side. So maybe something like that could happen. Maybe Atreus passes out and he's just like, "You hit my boy,"
Yeah.
and he just goes nuts. Because that's what I would do. I mean, if I'm in a room with people and the situation comes up and somebody knocks my kid out, you're gonna see a different side of me that you're not gonna like. It's gonna be like the Hulk. You're not gonna like me when I'm angry,
Right.
and you're not gonna like Kratos when he gets angry. So I don't know. We can talk about this all night. We can do 3 or 4 hour podcast and just go in circles about it. It can't get here soon enough. November 9th is what, maybe 3 weeks away, I think.
Yeah.
It just can't get here soon enough. I'm stoked. I've already got Bayonetta 4, a Bayonetta 3 on pre-order. I'll play that until Ragnarok comes out, and then Ragnarok's probably going to be my obsession. I might even platinum that, depending upon what the trophies are. I mean, it's gonna be a good time, and I want to do this again when we finish God of War Ragnarok. So I'm sure we're both going to play it at the same time, and we're both probably going to beat it around the same time. Even if it's just a story, and I decide to go for platinum later, I want to do another one about Ragnarok.
Yeah.
So,
I like this series, man. This got me going. I like having a topic to focus on like this.
mhm.
And it look, God of War at this point's a retro game. It's a retro rewind. I could see us tackling other kinds of games and having dedicated podcasts about them.
Yeah, definitely. 'Cause, I
Anything,
mean,
any number of game that's ever existed, we could decide, hey, let's play this together, and then let's talk about it on the rewind. Once a month, we beat a game and we talk about it or something, you know?
yeah, within reason, because there's consoles that I have that you probably have never even heard of. So
Yeah.
it's it would really depend upon the game itself. But yes, definitely with Ragnarok, I need to check it off my damn bucket list at one of these points. But definitely Last of Us. I need to play Last of Us. We can talk about that. Um, yeah, just all kinds of stuff.
Canna,
Man.
Bridge of Spirits. I mean, I've got a lot of thoughts about that and the story of that game. And, you know, you played you dang near 100%ed it, right?
Yeah, outside of 3 trophies, I've collected all the I don't remember what they are, but the little buddies that you get. I found every single one of them. I've beat the last boss, freed all the spirits in the game. I've done pretty much everything I could think of outside of some combat stuff that I tried really hard to do, but for some reason I just couldn't time it right. But it's the master mode, because that's a trophy where you got to beat the whole game again in master mode, but you don't get that till you beat the game. So it's weird how, and of course you know how I feel about that, about basically forcing it to you have to play the game twice because you lock it behind a difficulty or something that you don't even get until you beat the game or something.
Yeah, not a fan of that.
Not a fan of it, but it has been long enough since Kenna is beating it that I could probably
It's
just
been
beat it
about a
again.
year since you
Yeah.
beat it, because we bought it when it released, and you beat it right away, and I never played it. Because I looked at
Yeah.
my save files today, and my first save was from September 2021. So yeah, it's been about a year since you beat it.
Yeah, I know it's been about a year because then they came out with the anniversary update just recently. So it's definitely been a year. And it's been a while. It's been long enough. I mean, the story's still fresh in my head, but it's been long enough since I played it that I could probably do master mode and then just do the story. Don't worry about finding everything. Just do the story just to get that trophy, do the last couple of combat things, admit and move on. So maybe, yeah. I mean, Kenna might be the next one. I don't know when you're gonna be able to do another rewind, but depending upon when you finish it, if you can finish it within a week or two, maybe
Yeah.
the next maybe the next rewind that we talk about, depending upon our schedule, of course. Um, I'm gonna start being available on Friday and Saturday nights. I'm gonna be off on those days. So
Yeah,
whenever you finish it,
we'll find
depending upon
time.
whenever you finish it, that might be the next one that we do. We might just talk about Kenna, what we liked about it. If they do another one, which I'm hoping that they do another one of those two,
I
what
want
we
it to
want
be huge. I want it. I want to pay $70 for it. You
yeah.
know, call me crazy. This one was 40. I want to pay 70 because I think they have a foundation there, and I think we should. I'm gonna beat it pretty quick, and then we could do another one of these over that because I really have a lot to say about that game. I think it's brilliant, and I want to pay 70 for part two. I want a giant experience that's just more of what same like God of War. I just want more. I just want more abilities, more more collectibles, more awesome traversal. It's just so fun.
Yeah, more combo options with the little buddies. Again, I can't remember what the heck they're
The
called. So I'm
rot.
just gonna call them. Yeah, the rot. Thank you. I was gonna keep calling them little buddies until
They're so cute.
um
They're so cute. I mean, the charm in that game is through the roof. Through the
yeah,
freaking roof. And it was the perfect game after playing Last of Us and God of War.
and we can easily just talk about what we want to see from McKenna too if they do that, which I'm hoping that they do because it seems like it did well enough, especially if they're coming out with anniversary update. It means that more likely it did well enough for the developer to go, yeah, we're gonna add more to the game. So maybe this is gonna be a two. I would like for it to be. Yeah, I'd love to pay double. I'd love to pay $60, $70 for the game, and again, just get a really big open world. Yeah. Um, but we can save that for the next rewind. I'll probably try to make it a point, depending upon when you finish it, compared to when Ragnarok comes out, to finish that game again. But I also remember enough about it to where we can just talk about it.
Yep.
And that could probably be the next one. We'll go ahead and set that in stone now. You can go ahead and join us if you want to like and subscribe to this channel to watch the Retro Rewind. And when we do the next one, it's more likely to be about Kenna, unless something else changes, which we'll let you know before that happens. But did you have anything else before we wrap this up you want to talk about with either God of War or Ragnarok?
No, I think we pretty much covered it, man. I'm really looking forward to it. I can't wait. I'm gonna buy it day one, play it day one. This is a day one for me, and that's rare. I don't even want to watch a single review. I'm the kind of guy that I'll be like, I'll watch a review to see if I want to buy the game for a lot of games that come out. But for this, I don't want to see nothing about it. I want to go in blind and figure it all out. Talk to you about it while we're going through it. Like, did you get to this part yet? Or, oh, did you see that? So, man.
I mean, yeah, I'll just laugh at you when you're just like, hey, I'm at this part now. I'm like, okay, have fun with that. It's kind of what I did with you. Like, I got ahead of you, and I was like, yeah, we can have fun with the border fights.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, definitely I'm going to want to do that. I can see you, for some reason, being the kind of person that you would pre-order it at the PlayStation Store. You'd wait till, like, midnight, download it, and play it, like, the moment it comes out.
Yeah, I could see myself doing that with this one. That's how excited I am. That's how good the experience was for 4 or the 2018 God of War. Yeah, this one that we're talking about.
Yeah, it's weird calling it God of War because every time I think of God of War, I think of the original PS2 one. But
I keep wanting to call it 4, God of War 4.
It's technically like 6 if you think about it, because Ascension was technically 4, but it was a prequel. It had 3 prequel games, which was weird.
Yeah.
It was never. Then there was never a sequel game. This was actually the first sequel game, so technically, I guess it's 4. It's weird, but that's all I got. You and I both cannot wait to play this game. It's going to be exciting. I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. It's just going to be so hard to concentrate on anything else. I think I'm going to be at work thinking about playing it. Like, it's just going to be one of those kind of things that I'm not going to be able to sleep. I'm not going to be able to do much else. So it's going to be exciting. And there's not a whole lot of games that do that. Typically, it's a Zelda game or sometimes it's a Metroid. There's not a whole lot of Fable 2 did that. Fable 2 had me thinking about it constantly. So there's not a whole lot of games that do that, but I think this game is going to do that. It's going to just suck my essence up, and I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing anymore unless I'm playing this game.
Yep.
So I think that's going to be it. We're going to wrap it up. I think we talked for like a good hour or so. Pretty good amount of time. I appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to do this. I'll get with you off camera at some point about when to do the next one. Again, there's no pressure from me. You and I both have busy schedules and all that. And yeah, I just appreciate you doing that. It's always a pleasure to do this. You know that. I loved it when we did it weekly, even if we just shot the breeze and talked about nothing in particular. It's just fun just to talk about it.
Yep. I agree, man. It's been a good time.
All right, and so for Mike and myself, thank you guys for watching here on Retro Geek Gaming. For watching the Retro Rewind episode 5, 6, whatever we're on. I don't remember now. I gotta get a better memory when it comes to that. And we'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.
See ya.